Welcome back. I've got Ciara as I'm on the line. Ciara, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am really, really good. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a bit now. So why don't you share a little bit about you and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Yeah, so my name is Ciara, as you mentioned, and I'm the CEO of Eventist. We're a ticketing company with just generally cheaper fees compared to a lot of the competitors. I started out as I'm a software developer and I had lost my job. So this was maybe 3 years back. They let go of the whole Canadian team. and uh and I was not expecting it because like not to toot my own horn or anything. It's not like I'm the best developer in the world, but I was working on a critical part of the software. And so when I was let go, I was like completely blindsided because I was thinking, oh yeah, a lot of places are letting go of people, but they won't let go of me because someone has to do my job. Um, but then they did, and I was kind of, well, I was bummed. And my friend said, okay, let's go out to eat, and I'll tell you about my app idea. And anyone in software, or maybe even in life, like any entrepreneur knows that that's a scary sentence. Whenever someone's like, oh, let me tell you about my app idea, I'm like, I just lost my job. I don't want to sit through an hour of you telling me about your app idea. But it turns out her app idea was really good. She's a dancer, a professional dancer, and she asked me to build a software that would do the ticketing and management of dance competitions. Because right now there's no great software out there for them. They use a lot of gymnastics software. So I was like, okay, I can build it. Who's going to use it? And that's the important thing to me is if I spend 3 years building something, I want I want to make sure it gets used. And she was saying, well, because I know everyone who's anyone in this industry, I can get people using it. So I was like, okay, awesome. And I built it. And then from there, it just started snowballing where people were using it and they're like, oh, can you make it do this? Can you make it do that? Can we do general events? And then it went from like this little pet project for my friend into a full-blown SaaS company. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love those success stories that are birthed out of challenges. And you go throughout history, and that's usually what happens. As much as I would love for us not to have to face, losing your job, I've been there. I know what that feels like. It's not a lot of fun, to say the least, but thankfully you did decide to go out and sit through that. Hopefully they didn't use PowerPoint. I always say it's like, oh no, not another slide deck presentation. No, but you know what? Obviously, it turned out really well, and it fit a need and a void that was out there because yes, there are, as you mentioned, there are other ticketing type platforms out there, some of the really big ones that you hear about in the news because they're getting sued all the time because they're gouging fees and, people can't get access to stuff. But, there's a lot of events that happen, and those events need to have tickets in order to pay for the event, of course, but also regulate how many people can come to it. Because, if you have an event somewhere and, the seating capacity is 500 or 5,000 and you get 50,000 people wanting to get in, well, you're going to see the fire department showing up pretty quick because you're going to be in violation of all kinds of codes. So obviously because of your skill set, you went, okay, let's make this. And when you work with somebody that is from the industry, like in your situation, where it was somebody that wanted to have ticketing for dance events. I find when you get to that level, when you have the developer and the person that really understands the the nuances of a dance competition or dance events, and they're able to articulate what they would like the ticketing system or any other system for that matter to work, it tends to make it a whole lot more easy to use and people like it. And I've worked
Yeah.
for software companies. I wasn't a developer. I worked more in the support side of things. But what I found time and time again is if there was a disconnect between the industry that needed something and the developers that were very gifted, sometimes there was, some lost in translation when it finally got to the development team. I find the closer you can get the dev team to the customer on
Yeah.
what they're looking for, the better that product's going to be. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on
And
that.
I think it goes both ways. So yeah, that's called requirement gathering in software, I think industry wide, but you want to get good requirements of what is needed to be built. Because you're right, as a developer, I don't have all the context of how a dance competition runs, how the judges score. I need that information and I need clear requirements. So that definitely helps because then anytime you get stuck, you can just ask her. But it does go both ways because the opposite happens sometimes. I've noticed, at least working as a developer, what'll happen is you'll get this list of requirements from product where they're like, yeah, we want you to build this. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. They're like, and we need it in a month. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. Um, so it goes both ways. Where when there is a dumb requirement, because I know her, I can be like, no, that's dumb. We're not doing that. Let's think of an alternate way to achieve this. For either, like, there can be tons of reasons why something's not a good idea. It can be um, usability. So I kind of look at when you're designing software, you want it to be easy to use for like the 95% of cases. So if you're building something that's like front and center, that's going to make it more complicated to use, I hesitate to put that in for that 5%. You know, you want to find somewhere to put it so that it's actually like a little bit harder for that 5%, so that the 95% comes in, it's intuitive, it's easy to use. And a lot of the times, in my experience working in actual development, they'd ask for like crazy stuff where you're like, this is not good design. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've worked in a variety of different industries, software companies, insurance agencies, waste software, so landfills and garbage haulers. I know what leachate is and other things that I never knew that I would ever need to know, and I try to forget that information, but it's there. Like the other day, I literally was walking out of my condo building, and they were unloading the dumpsters that they have to because the garbage truck was going to come to pick them up, and one of them was leaking. I'm like, ew, no, it's gross, of course, but it's like, okay, I know what that is and how they regulate it in landfill. So it's just, again, information that was beneficial when I worked in that industry. But probably the one that jumps out at me the most and where I heard the most complaints was in the healthcare system. You can go on Reddit or all other places and just see volumes of people complaining about the healthcare software. And again, that was,
Yeah.
one of the examples that I had referred to was that sometimes the designers of the systems never spent time with the clinicians or vice versa. And
Yeah.
everybody complains. And it speaks to your point where and I've seen this and working at a couple software companies in the past, you get those requests from either the salesperson that hopefully they didn't tell them we could do it when we can't, and that not that that's ever happened in the history of humanity, but also it's like I love how you said, no, that's dumb. I wish we could just be that cold. It's not cold. It's being truthful. It's not being cold. It's being truthful. It's like, no, that's dumb. And here's, the 26 reasons why. And if we have to go to another alphabet, we can, because it's like this is not going to work.
Yeah.
You get it to 95%. And as you said, this is a product that people love and adore. Then they go, it'd be nice. It changes the dialogue a bit because if they're really happy with it, and there's been software programs that I use that I just absolutely love, and I use them all the time. And yeah, there could be a couple tweaks here and there, then it'd be great. Now, for example, I'll use this example, and I gave a talk last year at a conference for years, and because I use Google Suite, and I've used Microsoft as well, but I use Google Suite a lot. So on Calendar, there's other areas where you can change, the view to dark mode. I like dark mode. I know some people despise it. I like dark mode. It's easier on my eyes to read. But Google Calendar never had it, and it was always bugging me. So they finally rolled it out last year. I turned it on. I hate it. Can't stand it. I've been wanting it for years. They finally turn it on. I don't like it. It's like, it's like a kid. It's like, "Nah, I don't want that." But I find that a lot of customers will want something, but they don't really understand what they're asking for. And that's a challenge that
Yeah, it does
product
happen
dev,
too.
yeah, that's got to be a big challenge for you.
I mean, for dark mode, I mean, I'm also a fan of dark mode. So even if you don't like Google's dark mode, I do think there's many people that appreciate that particular one, but there are cases where, they'll ask for something and then it doesn't get used. And that's something that we've had to learn kind of the hard way, where they're like, oh, we really want this. And like we can see the usage, right? And like we have certain features where we have literally zero users, even the people that ask for it. So it's kind of like, oh, well, we built this feature for literally no one. Like, so you kind of have to like if you're going to build something, and we've had, like I said, learn it the hard way, is kind of ask other studios and competitions, hey, like what do you guys think of this? And we're implementing this system. It's kind of like a voting system. If you want a new feature, you kind of it put it in, and then everyone can see it, and all the other users can vote on it. And then you can see based on like up votes what's really popular and down votes. So if someone really doesn't like that, they're like, I don't want that in the software. You can see. And then on our end, we can see like who voted for what. So we can take that into account as well. Just because, yeah, I don't know. There again, like you said, there are some people that know what they're talking about, like, and then there are some people that really don't know what they want. So we may put less stock into their vote. Yeah,
Well, it's good that you have that, crowd funding or crowdsourcing kind of option to it, because otherwise, yeah, the feature requests, that's, 10 full-time jobs to go dig through all of that. And you're like, okay. And some of them similar, but again, because they may not be able to articulate exactly what they're looking for. So, okay, that request from that person seems similar to that, but it seems a little different. So that again, that's where from a sales standpoint, you can reach out and say, could you clarify this? We want to get a little bit more information on this request to see. And again, from a customer standpoint, they go, oh wow, wow, they're actually interested in this. You never promise that you're going to make it, but you're like, oh, just want a little clarification on what this would do for you. What are you hoping to get out of
exactly.
it?
Yeah,
And that asks some deeper questions. And I think in this age, especially, like right now with AI, and you see all the things out there. You can create an app in 5 minutes. It's not going to be any good, but you can create an app. I'm just being, blunt about it. It's, and what's the phrase I saw the other day? And I don't remember if it was a Gartner comment or Fortune. It was some magazine trade or something like that. It was the phrase was called AI slop. And basically,
yeah,
what they said is about 95% of the AI quote unquote tools out there or apps are just literally slop, garbage, leachate. They're
yeah,
just useless. And it reminds me, because I'm old enough to remember the .com era when everybody was getting websites and everybody had to have a website and all the stuff was going crazy. There was, the majority of the websites were atrocious. They were garbage. They just weren't okay. Yeah, you threw something up on a page. Awesome. That's great. What can I do with it? And when we saw what happened with the .com bubble bursting and a lot of companies went under and it kind of sorted itself out. I see the same thing will happen with AI. I think it'll land on where it's going to land. It's going to be a tool that we all can use, whether it's developers or customers. But one of the things that I tell people all the time is like, well, I could just build my own app. I'm like,
okay.
yeah, you could, but is it going to be any good? And is that your strong suit? Let's go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, just the video froze for a second. That was all. So we're back.
No worries. Yeah, so I think again, just because we can, individuals can build something, I really think that because we're not, for most of us, we're not software developers. We don't understand code. We don't understand reasoning and logic behind things. We just say, well, we'll just have it do it. And it's like, it's like are you going to be a cook or are you going to be a chef? Those are two different people. And
Hmm.
I think that's the same thing with software development, design, and getting things to work together. I think that's why it's so important to leverage, skill sets like yourself to actually build out and think through some things, because uh, if you're going to build something and it's like, well, it's only going to take me 5 minutes, it's not going to be worth unless it's something really simple. Then, but even then, you got to, where's the information going? How is it calculating? Is it correct? There's something you want to think about,
Yeah.
yeah, because especially if you're dealing with anything that revolves around financials or design of something. You want the stuff, the output to be correct and consistently correct. Because if it's wrong, that could be catastrophic to your business, your clients, you name it.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a place for AI in terms of coding. Like I do use it. I think most developers do use it. There's certain tasks it does a great job at, but it's that idea of review, I think is the biggest one, is when it returns something, I'm able to read through it and see if it like because people say, you know, AI will like shit itself every once in a while. At least that's what the developers will say. And you have to be able to tell when it's just like what is going on. And also, it can't ever, in my opinion, it can't ever do really complex things accurately. Um, so what it does really well at is any kind of like recall, or if you're writing unit tests. So if you're like testing your software, you write little tests to simulate environments and make sure everything's working. It does a great job. If you give it, if you're like, hey, here's one test, I want you to alter this test for all of these different cases. It does a fabulous job doing that and can save like hours of time. So that's where it does really well. There's other areas where it does really well, but if you're just asking it to build an app, like in my experience, like you said, if it's something super simple, fine. But as soon as it gets any level of complexity, you're like, what is going on? What is happening? This is not efficient at all. So that's my take there. But
Yeah, it's like bloated code, or excuse me, bloated code. Like, for example, one of the things I do is I help out from time to time at an after school program that does Lego robotics and coding. You know, they've got Unity coding and all kinds of other stuff that they do there. And a lot of times the coaches will, look at what the students are building. And there are students, and we see this, in software teams all the time. You see some coders that are extremely efficient. The code is so lean, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. There's no bloat to it at all. And there's other stuff where it's, they use like block-based coding, like in Scratch or other coding programs, and people are listening to me. What's that? It's like, I'll put a link to Scratch from MIT in the show notes if you want to build some cartoon stuff, whatever. But we'll look at it, and it's literally like, I don't even know where to begin, to find why your robot is turning left instead of right. It's like there's just so much thrown at it. And again, that's, going back to what we said before, that's where you can get into some trouble in AI. And I've seen it in a variety of different instances where you look at it and like, why does it have it do that? That doesn't make
mm,
any sense. It's like, okay, I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and all of a sudden there's, a piece of lettuce in there. I'm like, I don't want the lettuce on there. Why did you add that? I didn't ask that. I said, use it, make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, use these ingredients. And all of a sudden there's this lettuce. It's like, is that my mom trying to get in there to eat me, eat more vegetables or something? What's going on with this? But again, it boils it back to this. When you work with someone like you, what'll happen is you're going to pull out the information from people that they may not necessarily have asked themselves. And when you do that, you get a better product. And that better product is going to serve you. You're going to have happy customers. They're going to want to continue to buy from you, go to your events, whether it's dance or, and we haven't even talked about this yet, but I'm sure you've taken the software and you've adapted it to all kinds of different things. And I want to hear
yeah.
your thoughts on that. But again, it's just because there's tools out there to help us do it, it doesn't necessarily mean you should look into it. But with one caveat, if for some reason you start enjoying doing it, then you could look at it and get the proper training on how to be a software designer, and you may have discovered, a new industry for yourself. That's, something for people to consider, but don't just, throw it together just to do it. So, but yeah, going back to what I mentioned before, what are some other uses that you've been able to birth out of this conversation that you had with your friend not too long ago?
Yeah, so I guess part of having a software developer start the company and build out most of it, you have so when you want to build stuff, a lot of the times companies will like specify over early. And then it's kind of like I guess like how you build your foundations, you can think of it as a house. Like you start out and you build this really big or small foundation, and now you have to build on top of it. So if you start out with a really narrow vision, then when you start building on top of it, it's going to get, you're limited by how high you can go without then ripping it out and kind of starting over. And that's where a lot of tech companies get bottlenecked. So I've seen this happen. I've worked through it. It's not fun. So we spent 3 years building the initial product and just the foundation. So we made sure to build it out really, really well, really versatile, and that way you can scale up really quickly. And that way when people said, hey, actually I don't want to just do dance competitions, I want to do general events, so we have a general event software. It's like 25 cents Canadian per ticket sold, flat fee, even if you have a $300 concert ticket. So we were able to get that done pretty quickly. We have a festival software where you can schedule in all the performers and stuff. And that was because the competition software, you schedule in, competitors, right? So we had all that scheduling base and we were able to move it out. So now you have a festival software and then we have a studio software, which is like for dance studios or yoga or art studios, any kind of studio can go in and schedule their classes and sell tickets. So we were able to like adapt and add in those really quickly within like the last year. All those new sections were added in, and I get that a lot. How did you pump that out so quickly? And the answer was that we spent 3 years building out our initial infrastructure. So, yeah,
Foundation, foundation, foundation.
exactly.
And it's, I know a lot of people go, oh, it's so tedious. Yes, but you know what? When you do it, because if you didn't do that and you just went narrow focused on dance studio, then you'd basically have to open up the software and the design and completely reconfigure things for
Yeah,
general events or for festivals or for
yeah,
booking, a concert ticket at a particular
exactly.
event. By you having the foundation, it's like, okay, now it's just taking, okay, I just need this component. I just need
Yeah.
this component. The base is the base. People order quantity, make sure it matches up to the number of seats, charge them, connect to the pay thing, make it
Yeah,
all
and
make it
the
all
the
work.
big one for us was recurring versus non-recurring, because as soon as you have studios, you have recurring events, whereas a regular event is non-recurring, and then you have scheduling and all that kind of stuff. So the foundations, I guess you could call in like would be called your database schema. And what it comes down to, if you're starting a tech company, rebuild it as many times as you need because you want to do that before you have users. Because once you have users, now you have to worry about properly migrating everything and not upsetting and not breaking stuff for those users. So before you have users, that's the time. Even if you spent, say, like 3 months building something up, if you're like, this is not working, like I hadn't thought of this case or whatever it is, it's time to just gut it and restart because it's going to be so much harder to do later. Before you have users, you want to have like a stable schema for, I'd say, like 6 months where you're adding things in and you're not needing to touch your database in a fundamental way. And then that's where I kind of went, okay, let's open it up to the public. Like we're good. So,
That's beautiful. It's the best approach to it because otherwise, if you have to patch the software, you go, okay, is this patch going to break anything? And if you have what we like to call legacy users that use the older versions, yeah, you might completely, crush their company just by rolling out a patch. Not that that's ever happened before Microsoft, or I'm not going to mention any other software names, but it happens. Not as much, but it still is problematic. So again, I commend you and the team for recognizing, okay, let's make this like more than ready to go. And then,
well, it's
but
because I've been that developer on call where it's 3 a.m. and you're on pager duty and you get woken up because something broke for someone and you're like, no, I'm in
mhm,
bed, I'm sleeping. So
yeah,
I don't want that to happen.
yeah,
So
3 a.m. The eyes don't work really well for most of us. So all of a sudden you're looking at code trying to find where it broke, and you're like,
yeah. Well, I
where am
have
I?
2 kids as well. So I have a 3 and 4 year old. So my take there is if I'm being woken up at 3 a.m. by not my children, I'm extra irritated. So I hate pager duty with a passion. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my brother works in IT, and yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm on call. I'm like, oh, good for you. Well, I'll let you go so you can get to bed before you get woke up at 2
Yeah.
a.m. or 3 a.m. So, Kira, I've loved this conversation. Where can people find out more about you and all this amazing work you're doing?
Yeah, so the best place to reach me, I do run the Instagram myself. Other channels we do have like support teams. So if you want to reach me directly, eventist.ca is our Instagram. It's also our website. So that's easy peasy. People can
Hmm.
just go to both. And then in general, if people are looking to use ticketing, yeah, we charge 25 cents a flat fee per ticket sold across our ticketing softwares and our studio softwares. We charge a percentage, so it's 1.9% of every ticket sold. So all of our software is free to use. So if that sounds like you might benefit, give us a shout. We'll help you set it up for free.
Awesome. And I'll definitely have that in the show notes. So, Kira, thank you for being you and for all this amazing work you're doing. Really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me.